John Warren Cooke looks the part of a distinguished Virginia legislator, a country gentleman, businessman, and newspaper publisher who lives with his wife Becky in the same 200-year-old Matthews County home where he grew up. It's to this home on Put-in Creek that the Speaker will retire January 9th, after 38 years in the House of Delegates, the last 12 as its presiding officer. As his legislative career draws to a close, the 64-year-old Democrat is nostalgic about his days in the State House and unsure about his future in Virginia politics.
I'm beginning to feel the pangs of withdrawal now every time I go to Richmond to see preparations for the new session, something at this time of the year all of us have gone through for many, many times. You see the buildings being painted, the committee rooms being refurbished, and the hustle and bustle of the upcoming session. And it's a little different situation for me this time.
Cooke served in the General Assembly during some of its most tumultuous years. The most crucial period, he says, was massive resistance in the late 1950s, when the General Assembly chose to close the state's public schools rather than desegregate them.
I would hope that we have learned that you cannot change the course of history and trends. Once they begin, there is no way to change them.
As a leader, legislators describe Cooke as fair and innovative. An example of his fairness came shortly after his election as Speaker in 1968, when he reversed the policy of his predecessors and for the first time appointed Republicans to important committees. His reputation for innovation comes from his work to streamline Virginia's legislative process, which, when Cooke took over as Speaker 12 years ago, was considered one of the country's least efficient.
I point out the larger staffing that is available. We have instituted annual sessions of the General Assembly, which obviously are much needed to handle the volume of legislation which comes before it now. We have a very modern computer system, something that was totally lacking a few years ago. We have an office building where members can attend to their business. For many, many years, you know, our office was our desk in the chamber.
Cooke's exit from the General Assembly doesn't necessarily mean he's leaving Virginia politics. After 38 years in the State House, he says he may be interested in making a run for the governor's mansion. Tomorrow night, we'll talk about that. Joan Gartland, Area 10 Eyewitness News in Matthews County.
Exactly like we'd be today. They were very ambivalent about it.
John Warren Cooke will retire to his Matthews County home this January after 38 years in the House of Delegates, the last 12 as Speaker. But just as he is about to end one career in politics, he has let it be known he is interested in another.
Some of my friends, some Virginians, have suggested that it might be appropriate to run in 1981, and because of those suggestions, I am looking into the situation.
This isn't the first time the 64-year-old Speaker has looked into the possibility of running for governor. He had been mentioned as a compromise candidate in 1969 and again in 1973.
Of course I considered them seriously, but as is obvious, I did not become a candidate.
Why not?
Perhaps the time was not right. There may have been other elements that entered into it then.
Some are suggesting that in 1981, the time may be right for Cooke. There is growing disenchantment among various factions of the Democratic Party with Lieutenant Governor Charles Robb, who is considered the front-runner for the nomination.
I certainly am not examining the situation with the point of running against Mr. Robb. As a matter of fact, this began before this disaffection you just referred to was even mentioned. There can be a number of candidates, I presume, in seeking the Democratic nomination for governor. And should I become a candidate, I'd be doing that for my own, on behalf of my own candidacy, and not opposing Mr. Robb or any other person necessarily.
Political observers say Cooke's conciliatory manner may be just what the splintered Democratic Party needs. He knows more about Virginia government than just about anyone, they say, and he has a moderate political philosophy that could embrace both Henry Howe liberals and conservatives and end 12 years of Republican domination in the governor's mansion. Does Cooke agree?
I expect the only way that could be proved would be to run and find out.
Joan Gartland, Area 10 Eyewitness News, Matthews County.